Most traders begin with the same dream. They open their first account with $100, and in their mind, it instantly multiplies. They imagine doubling it in a week, flipping it into 1,000 within a month, and before long, they're already fantasizing about quitting their job, buying a car, traveling the world, and telling everyone they've cracked the code to financial freedom. This is the dream, but it's also the trap, because the moment you see $100 as something to flip instead of something to respect, you've already stepped into the quicksand that swallows 9 out of 10 traders. The mirage of fast money is the most dangerous illusion in the market. Let's run the numbers. You have $100. You decide you'll go big because, after all, it's only a small account. You risk half of it on a single trade. If it wins, you're instantly up $50. That feels powerful. That feels like progress. But what happens if you lose? You're down to 50. And if you lose again, you're nearly at 0. 2 bad decisions and the game is over. This is the reality most beginners don't calculate. They only imagine the wins. They only see the upside. But the math of ruin is always waiting in the background. Because if you keep risking half your account, you don't need 10 losing trades to blow up. You only need 2. That's not a strategy. That's a lottery ticket. And lotteries are designed to make you lose. Now, let's flip the script. Same $100. But this time, you decide to grow it at just 5% per week. Doesn't sound exciting, does it? 5% on $100 is only $5. Most traders would laugh at that. They'd say, what's the point? But let's play it forward. At 5% weekly, $100 becomes $275 in a year. In less than 5 years, it becomes $10,000. Keep going, and the curve gets ridiculous. By year 10, if you maintain that discipline, you wouldn't be measuring in hundreds or thousands. You'd be measuring in millions, not because of luck, not because of gambling, but because of compounding. Compounding is slow at the start, but unstoppable once it builds momentum. The professional thinks in years, the amateur thinks in hours, and that's why the amateur is broke before the professional is even warmed up. Your $100 is not money, it's a seed. If you eat the seed, it's gone. If you gamble with it, it's gone. But if you plant it, water it, and protect it, one day it becomes a harvest. Every trader says they understand this, but then they sit in front of the screen and suddenly patience feels like weakness. Discipline feels like boredom, and the seed gets dug up over and over again just to see if it's growing. But no farmer digs up a seed to check progress. They let time do the heavy lifting. Trading works the same way. Most traders can't sit still long enough to let their seed grow. They log in, they see candles moving, and the temptation is overwhelming. Every flicker feels like an opportunity. Every green bar feels like a promise. And before long, they're clicking buttons out of boredom, not strategy. That's when the market teaches them a lesson. It teaches them that impatience is the most expensive habit in trading. Consider Richard Dennis, the legendary commodities trader. He started with just over $1,000. Within a decade, he turned it into over $200 million. Not by gambling, not by risking half his account on a whim, but by applying repeatable rules consistently and letting time compound the results. Dennis didn't treat his account like a lottery ticket, he treated it like a business. And businesses survive on discipline, not luck. Or think of Warren Buffett. He's not a trader in the short-term sense, but he's the greatest example of compounding in history. Buffett made over 90% of his wealth after his 50th birthday. Not because he suddenly got smarter, but because compounding requires one thing most traders refuse to give: time. Fast money destroys you. Slow money frees you. The cruel joke is this: the market knows how to bait you. It dangles quick profits right in front of your face. You place a reckless trade and it wins. You double your account in a week. You feel invincible. And that's when the trap snaps shut. Because that false confidence leads you straight into over-leverage, over-trading, and eventual ruin. The market whispers, do it again. Faster this time. Bigger this time. But the faster you chase, the quicker you lose. And the slower you move, the faster you grow. There was once a pit trader in Chicago who said, if you can stand here all day and make 0 trades, you're ready to be a pro. Why? Because most traders think doing nothing is weakness. They believe if they're not constantly in the market, they're missing out. But waiting is a weapon. Not trading is still a trade. The professional knows that avoiding bad setups is as powerful as taking good ones. The amateur thinks clicking more buttons equals more money. But in reality, more trades usually equals more losses. Patience isn't passive. It's active discipline. It's the conscious decision to protect your capital until the exact conditions you need are present. The amateur can't do this. The professional lives by it. This is the first transformation you need as a trader. Stop seeing your $100 as small. Stop treating it like pocket change you can afford to lose. Because how you treat the small is exactly how you'll treat the big. If you gamble with 100, you'll gamble with 100,000. If you disrespect the seed, you'll never grow the tree. But if you protect it, if you train yourself to see every dollar as capital, every trade as risk, and every setup is either worth it or not, you've already separated yourself from 90% of the crowd. Most traders don't fail when they run out of money. They fail when they run out of patience. This is the mirage of fast money. It looks tempting. It looks easy. But the closer you chase it, the faster it disappears. The traders who try to get rich the fastest always lose the fastest. And the traders who are willing to move the slowest are the ones who end up winning the race. So when you look at your $100 account, don't see it as nothing. See it for what it really is. Your training ground, your dojo, your chance to master patience before the stakes get bigger. Respect the 100 and one day you'll earn the 100,000. But chase the mirage and you'll lose it all before you've even begun. The market rewards patience in ways that are invisible at first. Most beginners think they lose because they lack strategy, or they haven't memorized enough candlestick patterns, or because they picked the wrong indicator. But the deeper truth is this. Most lose because they never adopt the single mindset that separates millionaires from gamblers, the compounding mindset. Compounding is not glamorous. It's not the adrenaline rush of flipping your account overnight. It doesn't look exciting on social media. Nobody posts a screenshot of making $5 on a $100 account and gets famous. But what compounding lacks in flash, it more than makes up for in force. Because compounding, when understood and applied with discipline, is unstoppable. Let's slow down and look at the math. Imagine you start with $100. You don't aim to double it in a week. You don't even aim to double it in a month. Instead, you focus on 5% weekly growth. That's just $5 a week at the start. Nothing exciting. But after 1 year, that account is no longer 100. It's nearly 300. After 2 years, it's over 700. After 3 years, it's more than 2,000. By year 5, it's roughly 10,000. And if you can carry the same discipline for a decade, you cross into millions. The numbers look impossible at first. But this is the hidden power of exponential growth. At the beginning, progress feels microscopic. $5 here, $10 there, but the curve steepens with time. What was once a slow crawl suddenly turns into a sprint. That's why Albert Einstein called compounding the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it, earn it. Those who don't, pay it. Now, think about how most traders approach the game. They get $100 and say, if I just double this a few times, I'll be rich. They risk half their account. They risk it again. They gamble until luck runs out. And luck always runs out. What they don't realize is that they're trying to bend time. They want to squeeze 10 years of growth into 10 days of gambling. And the market punishes that with brutal efficiency. Richard Dennis understood compounding. In the 1970s, he borrowed about $1,600. Over the next decade, he turned it into hundreds of millions. He didn't do it by chasing fireworks. He did it by applying consistent, repeatable rules. He let time do the heavy lifting. He respected small wins. He never sabotaged himself with greed. That's compounding in action. But compounding isn't just math. It's psychology. The mindset behind it is patience. And patience is hard because it feels like waiting while everyone else is running ahead. Imagine two traders sitting side by side. One is risking 50% of his account every trade. He's posting screenshots of huge wins online. He looks like a genius. The other is risking 1 or 2% per trade. His growth is invisible to outsiders. But 5 years later, the gambler is gone, and the patient trader is still here with a track record that attracts capital, opportunities, and respect. That's the difference. The compounding mindset also forces you to see losses differently. A gambler panics when he loses because he thinks every trade is supposed to work. A compounding trader accepts losses as tuition. If you risk 2% of your account, losing means you step back slightly. You can recover it slowly without needing to gamble harder. Losses become part of the plan, not a personal attack. Think of it like a coin flip. If you flip a coin 100 times, you expect about 50 heads and 50 tails. You don't panic if the first 3 flips are tails. You trust probability. Compounding traders think the same way. They know that their edge plays out over hundreds of trades. One loss doesn't matter. 10 losses don't matter. What matters is that they keep the system alive long enough for the probabilities to unfold. But compounding also requires emotional control. If you're chasing fast money, every tick of the chart feels like life or death. You can't think clearly. Your mind is screaming at you to act. Compounding frees you from that pressure. You're no longer trying to hit home runs. You're just trying to get on base consistently. And over time, those base hits add up to a championship season. Warren Buffett once said, "The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient." That's not just philosophy, that's mathematics. Impatience destroys compounding because it forces you into reckless risk. Patience protects compounding because it allows the math to play out. The question is never whether compounding works. It always works. The question is whether you can endure the boredom, the waiting, and the temptation long enough for it to show itself. Consider the seed again. A gambler digs it up every day to check if it's growing. A compounding trader plants it and waits. He knows the roots must form before the tree can grow. If you dig it up too early, you kill it. In trading, every time you chase quick gains, you're digging up your seed. You're sabotaging the future harvest for a cheap snack today. There was a trader in 2003 who only allowed himself 4 trades per month. Not because he was lazy, but because he understood that his system only produced 4 high-quality signals in that time. For 23 days, he would do nothing. On day 24, the setup would appear, and he would act with precision. That single trade often made more than the impatient trader made all month. He didn't rely on luck. He relied on ruthless patience, which is the backbone of compounding. Another story comes from Jesse Livermore, one of the most famous traders in history. He made and lost fortunes multiple times, but one of his most famous quotes was, "It never was my thinking that made the big money for me. It always was my sitting." Livermore understood that the real profits came not from constant action, but from waiting for the perfect opportunity and letting time magnify the result. This is what compounding demands of you. Respect the small, endure the waiting, protect the capital. Because the market is not testing your intelligence, it's testing your patience. Most traders lose not because they lack skill, but because they lack the discipline to think in decades. Your $100 account is not meaningless. It's your training ground. If you can grow it slowly, steadily, with respect, you've already mastered the most important lesson in trading. You've built the mindset that can handle 100,000, a million, or more. The numbers change, but the mindset doesn't. So the next time you're tempted to double your account in a week, remember this. You don't lose to the market. You lose to your own impatience. And compounding is the antidote. It may feel boring at the start. It may feel like nothing is happening. But one day, you'll look back and realize the small, disciplined gains you dismissed were the very foundation of your freedom. Because in the end, the compounding mindset isn't just about money. It's about identity. It transforms you from a gambler into a professional, from someone who craves quick dopamine into someone who builds lasting wealth. It's not about hitting jackpots. It's about stacking bricks. And if you can stack those bricks long enough, what you're building isn't just an account. You're building an empire. This is the power of compounding. It doesn't ask for brilliance. It doesn't ask for luck. It only asks one thing, that you endure. If you can master that, then the $100 in your account today isn't small. It's unstoppable. Patience is the rarest currency in trading. Everyone thinks they have it until the chart starts moving. The candles flicker, the price jumps, and suddenly discipline dissolves into impulse. But the traders who last, the ones who actually build wealth that compounds over decades, treat patience not as a weakness, but as a weapon. They understand that waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is the essence of the game. Think of a lion in the wild. It does not run at every rustle in the grass. It does not chase every shadow that moves. The lion waits, hours, sometimes days. It watches, it stalks. And only when the perfect moment arrives does it strike with precision. That one strike feeds it for weeks. Traders who lack patience are like hyenas, always chasing, always moving, always hungry, but rarely satisfied. The patient trader is the lion. He may act less often, but when he does, it matters. Most traders lose not because they lack skill, but because they lack the strength to sit still. They feel that if they're not in a trade, they're not progressing. They equate activity with achievement. But trading is not construction. You're not paid for how many bricks you lay. You're paid for the quality of the structure you build. Sometimes the best trade you can take is no trade at all. There was a pit trader in Chicago who used to say, "If you can stand here all day and make 0 trades, you're ready to be a professional." Why? Because professionals understand that the market doesn't owe them opportunity every hour of every day. Some days the conditions are unclear, the probabilities are uncertain, and forcing a trade is like forcing a punch into empty air. You tire yourself out and leave yourself open to being hit. The amateur throws punches at shadows. The professional waits for the opening. One of the most disciplined traders I've ever read about limited himself to only 4 trades per month. Imagine that 26 days of sitting on his hands, watching charts, doing nothing. And then on day 27, his signal would appear, and he would act with perfect confidence. While the impatient traders had burned through their accounts with dozens of sloppy trades, his single precise strike made more than all of them combined. That's ruthless patience. Ruthless patience is not passive. It's not sitting back and hoping. It's active discipline. It's studying the market, preparing your plan, knowing your exact conditions, and refusing to compromise until those conditions align. It's the ability to endure boredom without manufacturing action just to feel alive. Most traders can't handle that silence. They log in, see movement, and convince themselves that movement equals opportunity. But not all movement is opportunity. Sometimes movement is noise. Sometimes the most profitable decision is to watch the chart and do nothing. Jesse Livermore, one of the most legendary traders in history, once said, "It never was my thinking that made the big money for me. It always was my sitting." Livermore understood that big profits didn't come from constant activity. They came from identifying the perfect conditions and then sitting through the trade long enough for the trend to unfold. He knew that entering too early, exiting too soon, or jumping around chasing minor fluctuations was death by 1,000 cuts. His wealth came from the discipline to sit, to wait, to let time magnify his conviction. This is why patience is paradoxical. It feels slow, but it's actually the fastest path to lasting wealth. Impatient traders may see quick spikes of profit, but just as quickly, they see devastating losses. Patient traders may seem like they're moving slowly, but their equity curves tell a different story. Smooth, steady, rising over years. The impatient trader burns bright and dies out. The patient trader burns slow and lights the way for decades. Even outside trading, the principle is the same. Farmers don't plant seeds today and expect a harvest tomorrow. Builders don't lay one brick and expect a castle. Great achievements require time. The only difference is that trading tempts you with instant feedback. The flashing numbers, the live candles, the simulated rush of progress. It makes you think something is happening when in reality, nothing important is happening. The professional sees through that illusion. The professional knows that the flashing screen is just noise until the right pattern, the right setup, the right edge appears. And here's the harsh truth. Most traders fail not because they take bad trades, but because they take too many trades. They dilute their edge across dozens of low-quality setups. They waste energy, time, and capital chasing crumbs when they could have waited for the full meal. It's like shooting arrows into the dark. Maybe one hits, but most don't. The patient trader waits until the target is lit, clear, and still. Then one arrow is enough. Patience also protects you from the greatest enemy in trading, yourself. Impatience leads to revenge trading, chasing losses, doubling down, and abandoning your plan. Patience keeps you anchored. It gives you space between emotion and action. It allows logic to override fear and greed. Without patience, even the best strategy collapses under the weight of human impulse. With patience, even a simple strategy becomes powerful because you execute it with consistency. So, how do you cultivate ruthless patience? You build it like a muscle. You set rules that limit your activity. You force yourself to sit through boredom. You keep a journal and track not just your trades, but the trades you didn't take, and you measure how much capital you saved by not forcing setups. You remind yourself that not trading is still progress, because every day you survive is another day you can apply your edge when it truly matters. The market is not going anywhere. The opportunities you missed today will be replaced by new ones tomorrow, next week, next month. The traders who panic about missing out are the ones who blow up. The traders who understand that the market is eternal, that it will always offer another chance, are the ones who last long enough to see compounding do its work. Ruthless patience is not glamorous. Nobody brags about sitting on their hands all week. But it is the invisible skill that separates the 90% who fail from the 10% who endure. It is the quiet power behind every fortune built in the markets. And the sooner you embrace it, the sooner you stop being prey and start becoming the predator. The lion does not waste energy chasing every rabbit. The lion waits for the buffalo. One strike, one kill, one feast. The market is your savanna. Will you be the lion who waits, or the hyena who starves chasing scraps? The answer to that question determines everything. And when you truly grasp this, when you embrace ruthless patience, you'll realize something profound. Trading isn't about making money fast. It's about surviving long enough for time, probability, and compounding to make you rich slowly. If you can sit, you can win. If you can't, the market will take your seat and give it to someone who can.